Predictive coding theory suggests that the way we perceive the world is hierarchically, from low-level sensory input, our sights, our sounds, our touch, to high-level abstract reasoning, our predictions, expectations, and routine. Predictive processing is crucial in social interactions. Neurotypical people exhibit a predictive bias when integrating sensory and abstract information. Hudson, in 2021, demonstrated that we can manipulate the biases of action perception by changing the probabilistic and predictive nature of a person's movements. This study aims to replicate these findings by exploring perceptual biases when manipulating the predictability of actions and intentions. We also wish to see if scores of autism and schizotypy correlate with these perceptual biases, as previous research suggests that the use of sensory and abstract information differs between the two. So what did we do to test this? Well, we ran two action prediction experiments based on Hudson et al.'s previous study. If you focus on this experimental trial sequence, you'll see what participants see. In the first instance, a hand will appear next to an object. Then you'll hear an actor state, "I'll take it" or "I'll leave it." Then the hand will either move towards or away from the object. And then the hand will disappear. Participants then tapped on the touchscreen where they thought the last position of the tip of the index finger was before it disappeared. We manipulated a variety of conditions. In the first experiment, we manipulated how likely it is that the actor is going to do what they said they'll do, then the opposite, and then flipped it over. They're more likely to do the opposite. In the second experiment, we manipulated the actions, so they're more likely to reach for an object or more likely to withdraw from it. So what did we find? Well, in the first experiment, we replicated previous findings. We found the main effect of action in a counterpredictive scenario, but not with intentions. This because the intentions are regarded as unreliable. In a predictive condition, both actions and intentions create a predictive bias of the actor's movement. Participants are more confident with their perception. In the second experiment, we manipulated the action likelihood, or reach or withdrawals, and we didn't find the same results. We expected to find that perceptual biases would exist when actions were predictable, more likely to reach or withdraw. We also found that neither questionnaires correlated with these findings. Scores of autism and schizotypy amongst general populations are not related to these perceptual biases. So what can we take from this? Well, we replicated previous findings in one experiment, showing that as the precision of predictability increases, so does the extent of perceptual biases. We didn't find this when manipulating the likelihood of whether an actor reaches or withdraws. It's important to note that data collection is still ongoing, and so we may find significance down the line. The lack of significance between the correlations of the questionnaires may be because we're using a neurotypical population. This prompts research with clinical populations to see if we can find significance there. This leads me on to what comes next. Well, research has shown that both autism and schizophrenia feature atypical fine motor movements as biological markers. These can impact how predictable their behaviours are to neurotypical people. This affects social desirability. However, communication difficulties are less apparent when interacting with someone of a very similar neurotype. It's not surprising that autistic people find it easier to interact with other autistic people, and same for schizophrenia. We are utilising motion capture technology to record the motor movements attributed to these conditions. We will then incorporate these into an action prediction paradigm, just like this one that we've used earlier. And we expect to find that autistic and schizophrenic people will find it easier to predict the actions of those who have the same condition as themselves. Thank you for listening.